Hello, Wid fam. This is Leo with One Happy Widow. Thank you so much for joining me today. We are going to talk about, I'll give you some updates because I haven't been here in like 2 weeks. But today, our main focus of topic is going to be how do you tell people that you're widowed? Whether you're in fresh widowhood or it's been a while, like with me, it's been over 5 years and I'm remarried. It seems to be a topic that's just it's tough to figure out, like, how do you bring it up to people who don't already know? Because I found that it's not something that's gotten any easier, like, over time. So, in the past couple of weeks, I think it's been 2 weeks since I've even had a video. So I'm still chugging along with school, still, hanging in there, counting down the days. I did have a week off for fall break, so that was kinda nice. It definitely flew by, but, at least I was able to get a little bit of, like, a little bit of rest, so that was nice, and, now I'm just counting down for Thanksgiving break. So I've been back to school for a week, and I already was thinking about taking a day off this past week. I didn't do it, but I did think about it, and, there's just so many things going on there that it's ugh, wow. I'm just counting down the days, let's just put it that way. I've got 4 weeks until I have another week off for Thanksgiving break, so we're just gonna count down that. It's 20 school days, and one of those days I don't have to be there because, my daughter's getting married, and so she's getting married on November 12th, so I'll be taking off on the 11th, that Friday, so that I can travel up to Rome, Georgia, where she's gonna be getting married, and, so that's a good reason not to go to work. She, she actually came by earlier today with her wedding dress. Her wedding dress just arrived, so she picked it up from the bridal place today. She brought it to my house. The great news about it is not gonna have to be hemmed. Ha, hallelujah. Because her dress was all straight and it had the bottom, layer was like a big piece of lace, like a big trim border of lace. So it's not just cut it off and fold it up and sew it. It would have been pick off the lace from the bottom of the dress by hand and then pin it back up, where it needs to be, only on the front and the sides and not on the train, and try to, put it back in and then sew it back on either by machine or by hand. And honestly, as much as I love to sew, and I used to sew a whole bunch, but I'm just going to be honest, I have not even touched a sewing machine since Dewey got sick. And so, I would have had to dig out a sewing machine, pull out all of my old stuff, make sure the stuff still works, and then try to do that on her wedding dress. But luckily, the length is just perfect enough with her heels that, I mean, it probably could have been hemmed like this much, but it would have been the same amount of work to hem it this much as to hem it this much. And so she's like, "Mom, I really feel like, with the heels," she tried it on with the heels, and as long as she sort of kicks her feet out, just when she steps, as long as she kicks the dress out in front of her so she doesn't step on it, it's going to be fine. My youngest daughter's dress, who's going to be a junior bridesmaid, hers will have to be hemmed, but hers doesn't even have a hem. It's just cut off. It's really long. It's just going to have to be folded up, sewn one little thing around the edge. It'll take me 10 minutes. Awesome. My dress came in. It's not going to have to be hemmed either, as long as I wear heels. Whew, hallelujah. So things are looking up in that area because, to be honest, I was losing a little bit of sleep over knowing that I was going to have to hem my own daughter's wedding dress. Not really because of the work, but just because I knew that it's going to take a lot of time. And I don't have a lot of time. She's getting married in 3 weeks, and I'm working full time, and my full time for me means, at work about 60 hours a week and another 10 to 15 hours at least at home, just doing work and stuff. It was going to be rough to figure out how to do it. So luckily I don't have to worry about that. Also, she tried on her veil. Her dress is ever so slightly off white. Her veil is white, and it did not look good together. Plus, she has some stuff in the back, some like detailing in the back that she didn't really want covered up by the veil. And so what we did was I dug through all of my old stuff because over my fall break, we actually unpacked some boxes that had never been unpacked since we moved here a year and a half ago. We had like 7 boxes that still hadn't been unpacked that had been sitting on my front porch since we moved 2 summers ago, just sitting on the front porch. So we brought them all into the bedroom and unpacked them. And in one of those boxes was my old wedding veil, 2 of them, one from when I married Dewey, one from when I married JP. So I went and dug up the one from when I married her dad, and it was just so the perfect color to match her dress, but it was too long. So we just decided that I'm going to take the veil, I'm going to cut it shorter at the top, and I'm going to gather it up and put a comb on there and make a short veil, that doesn't cover the whole back. And that's going to be her something old that she's going to use for her veil. And I think the comb is going to come from her other veil. We're going to recycle it and use it. And she might just call that her something borrowed. I don't know. But I think it's a really sweet way, because she's getting married in the same place that her dad and I got married 22 years ago. So I think it would just be a sweet way. All we have to do is make sure it's stained really good because it's pretty wrinkled. But I think it's going to look really nice to have the veil that I wore and, fix it the way that she wants it to do. Modernize it a bit, I guess. And that sewing will be really easy. She also wants me to make some little miniature veils in black for her bridesmaids. Yes, her bridesmaids on her, what is that called? The bachelorette party. She's going to make some like some little tiny black veils or whatever, just with some tulle, real easy, because they're going to be doing rest in peace to her last name. And she also wants me to make her a tutu for her dog, because her dog is going to be the flower girl. So the dog's going to be in the wedding. It's a great name. I have to make a little tutu skirt for her in the color of the bridesmaids' dresses. So it should be fun. Those little things will be easy to do because most of those are not even any sewing. It's mostly just cutting some tulle and some making some knots on some ribbon. So it'll be a fun little thing. I'll probably get my youngest daughter to help me with that. So it looks like we've got all that worked out. And so I think we've got all the wedding plans just about solidified and we're ready for the countdown. So it looks like Jonice is here. Almost missed this. Always good to see you. Yay. Janet is here and says, this is exciting. And Jonice says, this is exciting. Good news. We need photos. Yes. So definitely we will be sending photos for sure. I had some kind of picture that I was going to show y'all on my phone, and I can't remember what it was. Somebody pulled something up from a long time ago, and I was like, oh, I need to show them. And now I can't remember what it is. Of course, that's my brain going all over the place. Once I find, yep, somebody's trying to post some bull on here. Somebody's trying to post some inappropriate posts on here. So let's take care of that real quick. Because it looks like they try to put a bunch of them on here. So it looks like, let's just go ahead and remove that. I don't know if y'all are seeing it, but there's some, yeah. I want to get rid of that. I'm so sorry. There's some like porn stuff trying to come up here. All right. Hopefully they deleted. Yeah. Hopefully I got rid of those. I did block that person. So, I don't know if I can get rid of that. I think they're all gone. Hopefully they're all gone. All right. Yeah, hopefully that'll take care of it. That doesn't happen too much, but, sometimes people slip through, Anyway, Naomi says that's a sweet touch to have your daughter use your veil from your marriage to her dad. Weddings are so fun. Yes. And Snowy Owl says, good for you. Bless your heart. Thank you. So I see all familiar names and faces on here. So names, I guess you could say. So it's just always nice to see when people kind of pop in, because I know I don't really do I don't give you guys very much ahead of time. because a lot of times I don't know when I'm gonna have a chance to do it, and I don't wanna schedule it and then something come up and then have to cancel, and I feel really bad. So I'm like, "Well, I know it's gonna be recorded. I know that if nobody, if nobody catches the, live session, it'll go up later and they can always watch it." So, but it's always nice when people are able to pop in live. So, I did put a couple of links above, um, in case. I think everyone who's here, who's posting on the chat, is already a member of the group. But if you are watching this and you're new or you're not already a member of our group, please consider joining. It's a really nice, supportive group. It's very positive there. It's just really supportive. It's a safe place for you to go and express your frustrations and to share your feelings and to uplift others. And it's just a really nice, close, positive community. And I don't get a chance to go in there as much as I used to and as much as I would like to because I am busy, but I do pop in when I can. And it seems that the members have kind of taken over with taking care of each other. And because we have I say such a large group, I think it's over 1,000 members now, but even when new people come in and they post, it seems like they are just welcomed with open arms to the people who've been there for a while. And it's really nice to see that even when I can't get in there as often to show support and give suggestions and that kind of stuff, that the members who are there, they take it upon themselves to just wrap their arms around the new people and the people who are struggling and really just take care of each other. So it's so nice to see the close knit community that we have there. So I really appreciate all of you who help each other out. If you are, struggling and you feel like you need some support, just head over there and apply. And just know that sometimes it takes me up to a week or so to get your applications approved because I want to make sure I don't let any riffraff in, some inappropriate people who are there for the wrong reasons. But I do get to get those people in as I can. All right. Happy that it's going so well for the wedding. Yes, me too, because it was one of those things that we kind of knew it was coming, but once the engagement started, it was like, oh, by the way, we're getting married in 2 months, so, or 3 or whatever it was. And so, talk about, and Braylon has done almost all of the planning herself. And so I have to give her credit for that. And we've paid for what we can. We've helped her with what we can. I paid for most of the dress and, she's paid for most of the rest. And her grandmother has helped with the planning too. But if y'all know anything about her, it's been a little bit rough taking the help without letting her take over. And so, you know what, I just let her deal with all of that. There was a very good suggestion on one of the previous videos to just take the moment, like take away Momo's thunder by giving her the spotlight in the very beginning and recognizing her in the beginning and making, like, thanking her and giving her that moment and then being done with it. And then going on with the wedding and doing the thing. And I thought it was a great idea, and I suggested it to Braylon, and I think she's going to use that. So it's a way to recognize Momo for her efforts and for her position and, for everything that she does do, but keep her from being able to, to keep on trying to take the spotlight away and make it all about her instead of the bride, which is who it should be about. So we're taking care of that. And then with the job, I don't want to get into a lot of details, but these kids, I tell you, the reason why I chose the topic that I chose today was because I do, try not to bombard my husband with all of the things that go on at work, but yet I spend so much time there and it causes, I have to be able to get the stuff out of my system, I guess you could say, blow off steam. And so I do tell him, some of the things that go on. And to be fair, I do have some really great students. It's hard to think about them when my focus and frustration and anxiety is so taken over by the ones with the strong personalities who are doing the severe things. And so we were sitting at, this was just yesterday, we were sitting at a restaurant, a hibachi restaurant, which happens to be my favorite meal. So we're sitting there, just me and JP, and I'm, telling him about my day, and I'm telling him about my work and some about my situations and these students and things. And I look behind him, and in the booth behind him, there's a little family, and it's a mom and a dad and a child. And the dad is in a policeman's uniform. So he's got the little walkie-talkie, and he's like in full-blown uniform. And I'm sitting here, complaining to my husband about my students that are 14, 15, 16, 17. And I'm thinking, these kids that I'm complaining about, some of them that are already getting started in some of these really bad choices and bad behaviors. And they're making some bad choices that are going to affect them for a long time, for their future. And I started thinking about the man in the other booth, the policeman, and thinking, these kids that I'm teaching right now, that I'm handling and dealing with, and some of these bad choices that they're making, some of these kids are going to, go take the bad road. And in a few years, that policeman is going to be dealing with those kids not as kids anymore. He's going to be dealing with them as grown-ups. And because some of them are going to become criminals, some of them are already criminals. And I thought, I'm complaining over here about my job, and he has no idea who I am or my situation, because I don't have anything, that indicates I'm a teacher. He is wearing a uniform. And so I could tell from where I was sitting, that that's what his position is. And I felt, I started feeling sorry for him, because I thought, this dude, he's dealing with things right now, but like, some of these kids that I'm dealing with, he's going to see them in a few years. He's going to be arresting some of these kids in a few years. He may even be arresting them before the next few years comes along, and a grown-up criminal is a lot more volatile and dangerous, than a child pre-criminal. So, and all I can do at this point is try my best to instill some kind of morality, like some empathy in these students, and just let them know. Like, I have one student that is just, I can't get into a whole lot of details because it's against, the law for me to share too many details about certain students, but I can just tell you, I have a student that is just, has some challenging behaviors. And I had a talk with him, and I said, um, when you are causing a lot of, ruckus in the classroom, let's say, and you're drawing a lot of negative attention to yourself, how do you think, what do you think it does to the teachers and the students around you in that classroom? And this was like after class, but while he's waiting for his bus, and I asked him, what do you think, how do you think it affects, your teachers like me? How do you think it affects me? And he sat like he had never really thought about that, and he said, well, it doesn't affect me. It's fine for me. I said, oh, I totally know that. I said, but what do you think it does for me? Do you think it makes my job harder or easier? Do you think it even affects me at all? Do you think it does anything to change how I feel, or how hard it makes my day or my job, to try to handle the issues that come up? And he was like, yeah, I mean, I guess, like, he didn't really even think about like the fact that his behaviors affect other people, and I said, my job could be hard or my job could be easy, but my paycheck is the same at the end of the day. And I asked him if it even bothers him that he's causing, he's causing struggles, and he's causing hurt feelings, and he's causing frustrations, and he's actually causing people to feel unsafe around him. This is a student that actually threatened me. And so that's another issue. But anyway, it's almost like he's just not realizing, because kids are egocentric. Like, when they're teenagers, they have to develop that skill to understand that everything that's going on inside of them somehow affects the people around them, their family, their friends, their community. Everything is self-centered, and that's nature. Like, they can't help that. That's just how they're born. And as they mature, they have to realize and understand that their behaviors affect, others around them. And they have to decide, if what I'm about to do or what I'm doing right now is affecting others. Do I care? Am I going to do anything about it? That kind of thing. And sometimes they don't care still, but a lot of times they just don't even realize it. They don't even think about it. But the point is, by the time we left the restaurant, um, I decided to go up to the counter and I just paid for their lunch. I asked, had they paid for their lunch yet? And he said, no, they hadn't got their ticket yet. I said, okay, well, I would like to pay for their lunch. And so I went ahead and paid for it. I did not stick around to let them know. I wasn't trying to get I did not want to even, it wasn't about me. It wasn't about me getting thanks or him having to even, say thank you or anything. I didn't really want to even interact. I just wanted him to know, because I wrote a little note on the receipt that they got back, and I just said, "Thank you for protecting our community." And I just wanted him to know that people out there still support and appreciate what he does. But I thought about the fact that the only way I knew that he does that is because he's wearing his uniform. Nobody knows when I walk around, that I am a teacher, unless I just happen to have my staff shirt on, and I probably don't want to walk around in public like that. And so people don't know, that I'm a teacher or what they do. And even if they do know, they have no idea the struggle that I have every day. And so, I was just thinking about that, how some of our roles that we play in life, people can see. If I'm out in public with my kids, people can see that I'm a mom. Obviously, you cannot hide your race. You cannot hide your gender. You cannot hide your, I guess that's, like your physical characteristics, right? But, and sometimes when people see you in a role, like let's say you're a coach or something, people obviously see that when you are coaching, they see where you are. People can see if I'm at my school, they obviously can see that I'm a teacher. So some of your roles that you play in life, you obviously, people know by looking at you, by what you're doing or by how you look. But a lot of other roles that we play are hidden, and people don't know. People don't know what our jobs are unless we tell them. And so that kind of led to my thought of my role as a widow. My role, not my role, I guess, but my identity. Like it's not my entire identity, but that's part of me, is being a widow. And people, unless they knew me when Dewey died, people that I've met afterwards or people that I knew before that it wasn't close enough to, would not know that I was widowed. And so they would not know what I'm going through, what I've been through, what I'm about to go through, what I'm in the middle of, what I'm struggling with, things like that. And sometimes sometimes I wish they did know, simply because people can be really cruel and they can make comments that offend and they don't even know. Like a lot of the times I'll see on Facebook or something and people will say, well, just go ahead and call me a football widow, because it's opening game. And so, I guess I won't be seeing my husband much for the rest of the season, or when deer season hunting season opens, and they're like, well, just call me a hunting widow because my husband's out in the woods every morning now and I won't be seeing him until, deer season's over or whatever. And I think, how insensitive to say, and like sometimes I'll get real snarky and I'll post back and be like, well, just call me a real widow because I won't be seeing my husband again until I get into heaven, and that pretty much shuts them up. But I don't, I don't always say those types of things. It depends on the mood that I'm in that day. But, people just don't realize when they say things that, that it might hit home to other people. And so, and I thought about that. And then, so sometimes, I kind of wish that people knew, because they might think about it before they open their mouth and stupid fall out. But then other times I think, I don't really want people to treat me differently or to be weird or to be awkward or not know what to say or to not want to be around me because they find out that I'm widowed and they don't know how to act. Because a lot of times when they find out, they're like, oh. And then they start thinking about things they might have said in the past where they're like, oh, crap. I said such and such, and I shouldn't have said that." And then they feel weird, and then they don't know what to say, and then they leave. And then they don't wanna be around you because they don't know how to treat you, because they see you in a different way. And so, it's kind of weird, like, sometimes I want people to know that I'm widowed, and then other times I just it's not my whole identity, and other times I just want them to treat me like a regular person, don't treat me any differently because of it. But I have students now that I've had for, we're in our 10th week of school. And of course, I don't just stand up on the first day and say, "Hi, my name's Miss Donnell, and I'm married. And by the way, my husband died 5 years ago." You don't like it's not part of my introduction. And I do tell them that I'm married, and I do tell them I have children and grandchildren. I talk about my pets and, some things and maybe a few things about my past. I don't hide it, but I don't like, lead with it. And so now it's starting to get, for instance, the kids, they're all big into tattoos. And so if I'm talking, right, and they see this, a lot of them are curious about it. And so some of them have asked about it. I'm turning my heater off. Ugh. I get cold and then I get hot. Then I get cold and then I start sweating. Well, at least my shirt's not inside out this time, right? Last week, my freaking shirt was inside out the whole time. Go back and watch that one if you want to laugh. But anyway, so a few students have asked, about the tattoo. And if you've watched any of my past videos, the tattoo is connected to an app on my phone that plays an audio file of Dewey's voice. And he was actually interviewed after he was sick, when he knew he was dying, and they asked him, "What if you could say one thing to your wife and kids, what would you say?" And he had a message for me, and then he had a message for his kids, each of his kids. And I have those audio files saved. And so if I play the app on my tattoo, it will play the message live on the phone. You can hear it, his message to me. And so when the students ask me about it, then I tell them, and then they're like, "Oh, okay. Sorry." And then and then it's kinda funny because they don't say a whole lot because they don't know what to say, but, they then later on, they'll come back, and it's so funny because they start to think about other things that I've said, and, like, I had one student flat out say, "Well, I thought you said your husband helped you set your classroom up in the beginning of the year. So, did he just die recently?" And then I have to go into, "Well, no, I am married, and he did help me set up my classroom, and, the husband that I told you about that passed away was from several years ago." And they're like, "Oh." And some of them, in their immaturity, think, "Oh, well, then you remarried, then you're fixed now, right? You're fine. So you're remarried, so, oh, you're good. Oh." And so it is kinda nice in a way because now they're like, "Oh, I can treat her like a normal person again. Like, I don't have to be weird, and I don't have to not know what to say to her. Now that she's remarried, she must be fine because she's moved on, and so everything's cool." I had a student the other day who I remember saying something about Dewey passing away weeks ago. And then he asked me during class this week, about my refrigerator. And I was like, "Oh, yeah, my husband picked that out for me." And he said, "Well, how did it get in here?" I said, "Well, he brought it." And he was like, "Oh." And he's looking real weird. And I thought, okay, here we go. He was like, "Oh, you know what? I could have sworn maybe it was somebody else, but I thought it was either one of you or one of your students or something said something about somebody passing away that was really close to them." Like, he didn't really wanna say, "I thought you said your husband died, but how did he bring you that fridge?" Like, he's trying to go in a polite way to get around it, and I was like, "No, that was me. I did tell you that my husband passed away." And he was like, "Oh, so," like, he's trying to put 2 and 2 together. So I had to put the 2, I had to let him know what was going on. He was like, "Oh, well, I'm glad that you found somebody." You know, and he didn't really know what to say. They don't know what to say, "I'm sorry," or whatever, because 'cause they're in high school, but, he was trying to be sympathetic, and then after that, he was like, exit stage left, went right back to his seat and didn't really say much else. So, I'm gonna go back and look at some of the comments before they start going off the screen and see if there's anything that people wanna add to. Um Allison says, hi from in the UK. It's 21:30 here, so listening before I go to sleep. I'm 2 years in, and your videos and the group have been a lifesaver. You're right, it is such a positive space. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that you found the group. I agree, it is a really good place to be. So I'm so glad you found us, Allison. And, sometimes I ramble. So if you get tired and you want to come back and see the rest, this will be recorded and you will be able to watch it later. A New Beginning says, I'm from the UK too, but only 5 months in. The group helps me so much. And I'm so glad that makes me feel so good because I know that I can't always make videos every week and I can't always pop into the group, but to know that there's still support there, that really makes me feel good. Peg is here and says, hello all. Joni says they have no clue. That's exactly right. And Tim is here from North Carolina. Tim is a frequent viewer also, seeing a lot of like recurring people. So that's really nice to know that y'all come back and find your way back here. Joni says that was such a beautiful thing to do. Wow. Muslima says, I don't know if I said that right. I am sorry. Says, hi, sis. And Peg says, I was thinking the same thing. And that's so cute. How old are your students? And I still wear my ring, so probably confusing. Okay, so my students are high school. My two main classes that I teach, I have a co-teaching class of 11th graders. I have two classes by myself that I teach that are resource, very small group, and they are the students that need the most extra support in order to get the math that they need. So I teach math. So I have a 9th grade class and a 10th grade class. But honestly, it's 9th grade by age. So they're 14, 15. But academically, we're teaching, I'm probably teaching 4th and 5th grade math, trying to get them the skills that they can get to. So there's a bit of a gap there between their academic ability, their biological age, and their maturity falls somewhere in there, so they've got like 16-year-old boy hormones, but their maturity level is like a 9-year-old. And their feelings and emotions are somewhere in there. And academically, they don't understand as much. And it is a challenge, because their ages are so different in the different areas of them. And it's all mixed into one person. So we have to figure out how do we reach them in different ways. So it's a challenge. Yeah. And Tim says he still wears his ring, so it's probably confusing. Yeah, I can understand that, especially if you tell somebody you're widowed, and one of the first things they do is look at your hand. So, yeah, that's got to be confusing. And there's not a specific rule, I guess, anymore about wearing rings. People just do whatever is best for them. It used to be you wear your ring on your right hand, and then for a certain amount of time, I don't really know how long, but we used to have these specific rules on how to grieve and how long and what to do. And now it's just like, look, the rules don't apply to everybody the same way when you're grieving, right? Because our emotions are not the same. We feel a lot of the same emotions, but we don't act on them the same way because everybody's different. And so some things that work for some people don't work for others. Some people choose not to ever, get remarried or date or anything like that. They just stay single the rest of their lives or widowed the rest of their lives, and that works for them. Just everybody's different. For me, as far as the ring goes, for some reason, I just wanted I know this sounds weird, but like the first thing that I did was to move that ring over to the right hand just because I wanted to like put it in everybody's face, like, see, look at this. My husband died, like a not a badge of honor, but like a in your face, kind of a like, look at this. And even and the funny thing is people don't really pay that much attention, and they probably see a ring and don't even realize it's on the right hand. And then this ring finger felt naked, and so I got what's called a widow's ring, which is just costume jewelry, but it was like $70. And I bought it, and it was black, and then it had like a fake diamond in the middle, but it was actually really pretty, and I got a lot of compliments on it. Again, though, whenever I'd get a compliment, they'd say, "Oh, what a nice ring." I'm like, "Oh, thanks, it's a widow's ring." And they're like, "Oh, okay." And we didn't know what to say. And so I wore that, and I even wore that until I met JP. And then once I really felt like I was comfortable moving forward and felt like that might be going somewhere with him, out of respect for him, I took that off and just had empty hand. But I still had my wedding ring on my right hand. until we had been together for a few months, and then I finally took that off too. Anyway, that kinda went sideways, but that's just another thing about widowhood, like, that might be one, like, slight indicator to the outside world that, "Hey, I'm widowed," but since it's people do such different things now, it's not as much of an indicator because like I said, people are just clueless now. They're not looking at your hand in the same way, or if they see it, they're not paying attention to, "Oh my gosh, that's on his right hand," and even if it is, it's not always doesn't always mean the same thing. And so, it can be confusing. Um, and then Tim says last Thursday was your 20-year anniversary. Oh, that's that's a big milestone. That is a big milestone. I remember having that one. Because my 17th anniversary was a week before Dewey died. So he died we had our anniversary on the 10th, and then on the 17th, 7 days later, he passed away. And that was our 17th wedding anniversary. So I've had many anniversaries since then. Now it's 20 it would have been 22 this past June. And so so weird to think. Just time goes by so strangely that in one way, it's been 5 plus years since Dewey died. And in one way, it seems like it's been forever since he died. And in the other way, it seems like it was just yesterday. So it's so hard to explain how time passes, right? Especially in grief. Um, but it's the same way with everything. Time flies when you're having fun and all that kind of stuff. The days are long, but the years are, the days pass long and the years pass quickly, or something about that. But yeah, that a day can be so long, a week can be so long, but then you look back and you're like, dang, how was it a year ago that's, something happened. And so time is a weird thing. Um, Muslima says, "Can you tell us how you don't compare your two husbands? Remember, you said you might do a video on it." Yes. So, I don't know that I don't know that I would want to do a whole video on it because it's pretty short topic, but I do remember the question being asked on underneath one of the YouTube videos. So, um, and I was asked, do you compare your two husbands? And I really don't. And probably the reason why is because they are so different. The Dewey was a big, burly, like broad-shouldered. He was a drill sergeant in the army. He was very like he was loud. He was intimidating physically. He wasn't mean, but like when he walked into a room, like everybody noticed because he was like and the way he kind of puffed up when he walked around, like he was a force to be reckoned with. And when he got mad or upset, like you knew and you did not want to mess with him. He was a perfect drill sergeant because he was just like his one motto was the truth will stand when the world's on fire. And he just did not take any bullshit, from anyone, including the kids. But, behind closed doors, when it was me and him, he was just a giant teddy bear. And but we did have like some butting heads sometimes because I'm type A and I'm not real pushover. And so sometimes when he was like, "Nah, we're going to do it this way." And I was like, I don't know about that one. We're going to talk about that one a little bit. But, he was just loud and boisterous and just, like I said, um, that was just him. And JP is, um, he's kinda tall, but, I mean, if y'all have seen him before, he's not like a real big guy. He's pretty slight and thin, and, um, he's real quiet and soft-spoken, and he's real timid and humble. He's not timid as in, like, scared of things or whatever. He's not afraid to speak up if he needs to, but his demeanor is just much more gentle and soft, and he's just a humble guy. He does the right thing because it is the right thing to do, but he doesn't really like broadcast it a lot. He's a guy that's content to stay behind the scenes and just do what needs to be done. Like if we were in a play, let's say, Dewey would want to be the main man character that comes in and like the Tarzan, he'd want to come in and grab the Jane and and make a big noise about it. And like he's going to want to be the center stage. JP's going to be the guy who's doing all the work in the back. He doesn't even want to be on stage. He wants to be on the tech crew. He's going to be building, doing the lights, doing the work, doing the bringing everybody the stuff and like making sure everything goes right. But he's content to be in the background doing the supportive role. If that makes sense. So because of that, they are such different people. Their personalities are so different. They don't even look the same. They don't have the same kind of physical features or nothing. And so because of that, it's not like there's not a whole lot to compare physically, personality wise. But, the things that they do have in common is they were both very loving men, very dedicated to family, Christian men who turned to Jesus later on in life. Dewey didn't turn to Jesus until he was always Christian. He was saved when he was in high school, but he didn't really like actively lead our family the right way, I guess you could say. He was not like the spiritual leader of our family until way later in life. He got like a calling, I guess, from God to take his family to church. It was a very, very clear message. And he was like, man, I got this clear message from God. I got to take my family to church. He keeps telling me and telling me and telling me, and we are going to go to church. We're going to find a church. We're going to go. We're going to join. We're going to do this thing. And I'm like, okay. And so, within weeks of us starting to go back to church, he got sick. And then a few months later, he died. He got baptized 2 weeks before he died. And 2 of our daughters got baptized with him. And so he started us on this journey, of spiritual leadership. And then he died right after he had started that journey. Well, JP, on the other hand, had been leading his family to church, since he was in his young 20s, maybe closer to 30. And he had tried to take his family and lead them. And then his wife died. And so it's kind of strange that, I feel like God sent JP to me because he sent JP to pick up the job and pick up where Dewey left off. He sent JP to finish the job that Dewey started. That's what I believe. And but like personality wise, they don't have the same type of jobs. There's just not a whole lot of it's not like I went looking for a replacement for Dewey. I didn't go looking for a guy that looked the same or acted the same or whatever. It wasn't really like that. And so it's just 2 different men. It's like your kids, like you have 2 kids or 3 kids or 4 kids and you look at them and sometimes they have, they're kind of similar, but then you realize each one of them is their own person and they are so different. And they do have some similar traits, and they have similar backgrounds because they're raised in the same house and they might have similar features. Like all 3 of my kids with Dewey have the same exact nose. Oh my gosh. They are Bennett nose and Bennett face all over. But they have some similar traits to each other, but each of them has their own gifts and talents and preferences and the way they react to things. And so, you don't really lump your kids all together in the same way, even though you love them. You love them the same amount. You just love them in different ways because they are different people. So I guess if that's the best way to describe it, if that makes any sense. So yeah, I don't really, like compare them together because as I said, I've said this before in videos that I don't really feel like there's one person for everybody. Like Dewey was the love of my life during that period of time in my life, and JP is the love of my life during this period of my life. And my life is different, with my life is different with Dewey than it is with JP. And even though I'm the same person on the inside, but my life is vastly different now. And I wouldn't really trade anything that has happened to me because everything happens to an end and for a reason. And you don't really want to think about the fact that, I wouldn't have met JP if Dewey hadn't died. So those type of thoughts you have to put out of your head. You cannot think about it in that way because it's too painful. And you just have to take things how they are and just realize that this is how things are for right now. So I wasn't really, I wasn't really trying to get off on like that much of a tangent, but I hope that that kind of, answered your question a little bit. Um, and then let's see, safety concerns along with mainframe computers. Yes. And I still wear my rings and I wear his around my neck, Joni says. So, yeah. So we all kind of figure out how to do our own jewelry stuff. And, it changes. Whatever you decide to do now, you could do for a few months or a year or whatever. And at some point, you may be like, you know what? I don't really want to do that anymore. I'm ready to do something else. And you know what? If we do something to help remember our spouse and then we feel like that has helped us for a time and then we don't need that anymore, then it's okay to do something different because that just means you're growing in your grief. Let's see. I never felt comfortable with rings being around electrical and construction equipment. Oh, that was that was leading up to the concerns about the computer stuff. So yes, I totally get it. My dad, when when I was a kid, he was an aircraft mechanic, and he wasn't allowed to even wear his wedding ring to work because he said they could get like the equipment could get stuck behind his ring and it could pull his finger off because of little things like getting caught on and stuff. So he wasn't allowed to even wear his ring at work. So, um, Joni says, I love how you describe Dewey. Dewey sounds like my latest husband, my late husband. Yes, I am screaming. The Tarzan screams killed me. I'm sorry. That was just what came to mind. The first thing that came to mind. Me, Tarzan. Me, Dewey. You, Leo. You come marry me. We have children. So, Muslima says, I heard a lot of people who marry again marry someone who looks like their first spouse. And thank you for your answer. I've read some things, some people on some other, like even in our group, I've heard some stories about people who are like, oh my gosh, I met someone and like they have the same name as my late husband, or they look so much like them and their mannerisms are so much like them. And it just is so weird and I sometimes feel like they're drawn to that person because of the similarities in their late spouse. And while I understand the attraction, because if I met somebody who was just like my late husband, then of course I would be attracted to them because I'm attracted to the same things that I was attracted to him before. I don't know if that's healthy, because you're not really wanting to try to find a clone of your late spouse, like, but I mean, everybody's different. Every situation is different. So I can't really say, well, don't look for somebody that's just like your other spouse because that's not healthy. You're trying to replace them. It's just everybody's different. And maybe you have a type, like maybe you're just attracted to that type of guy and you meet another guy who's that same type and they happen to have some similarities physically or personality wise. And that's the reason why you're attracted to them. And that's okay, as long as you are attracted to the other person because of that person, not because of how similar they are to your late spouse, if that makes sense. Um, oh my gosh. Y'all, if you see inappropriate stuff, report it, okay? Because we've got another one coming in that's hitting. How is it? How are they getting through? Yeah, if you see somebody that comes on that does some sex stuff or whatever, just hit report. And yeah, I don't know if y'all can see it, but yeah, I'm trying to get them all there as best I can. So report and remove and report and remove. Yeah, that Peg, this is the second troll we've had just today. But like I said, if y'all see it, there should be some dots that you can sit next to it and you can report it and that should get them removed. And hopefully I did that too. Naomi says, people come into your life for a reason. JP is your soulmate. May God bless you both many happy years together. Thank you. That is very, very sweet. And I do believe he's my soulmate for this, for this period of my life. The Bible says that, there's no marriage in heaven. It's so weird to try to think about what it's going to be like because we've had these talks, like what happens when we get in heaven and like Dewey's up there and JP's up there and I'm up there and Crystal's up there. That's JP's late wife. Like we're all just going to sit around and have dinner together. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to work. I'll find out when I get there. But, those are not things that we have to worry about right now. We just have to worry about getting through the day, getting through our lives. And if we find somebody that helps us to do that, then more power to us. No judgment from other people, right? Let's see. Yes, another to block. Yes. So yeah, hopefully another troll. um, Alright. I know, these trolls, I don't know. I put on the little thing that says, to try to block as best we can, but I guess they have found a way to get around it. So, I think there's a thing that I can click on that says make it even more like, even more hard for people to for trolls to get through. I'll try to click that next time. And then what might happen is it might block some other things that are legitimate, but, anyway, yeah, we just have to try to I don't know why they come in and try to mess things up for people who are trying to do what they do. But, anyway, so yeah, that's basically the message I was trying to talk about today is that, um, when we meet people now, um, like, how it's weird, and I don't think that's ever gonna change about how do we, introduce ourselves or get to know someone? At what point do you tell them that you're widowed? At what point do you explain it? Like when, how, what situation? And because you feel like, "Oh, I don't wanna wait too long, but I don't wanna, like, lead with it," and it's always gonna be a weird one. Like, I don't know that that's ever gonna get any easier. It's even weird now because 'cause I'm like, "Do I mention it at all?" Like, it's been 5 years, my coworkers, like, I mention it, in passing, and then they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay," but I'm in the middle of a conversation, and I'm like and even me, I don't know how to react to their reaction. They're like, "I'm so sorry." I'm like, "Thanks." But anyway, so what I was saying, like, you take a moment of brevity or levity or I don't know the word, but it's an awkward situation. It's an awkward piece of conversation. And it's one that I don't think we will ever figure out when is a good time to mention it or talk about it, like on my job. I'm at a job now that I just started this year. So I've been even when I started, I was already widowed 5 years and remarried. And so I'm like, I'm not trying to hide it or keep it a secret or anything. But at the same time, it's not my main identity, but I don't want anybody to think I'm ashamed of it. So, but also I'm not proud of it, Like it's just it's weird. You guys have those situations? Like how have you handled that? Sometimes I'm like, do we just need like, a widow do we need a widow t-shirt? I am a widow. I am a widower. I did one time. I think I told y'all this story, but I went to the post office one time and I had on my one happy widow t-shirt. And the lady behind the post office counter, she was like, I don't I'm not even sure if I want to ask about your shirt. Um, because I'm thinking she has no idea what it means. And so she's thinking, her husband died and is she happy about this? Did she kill him? Did she, is she relieved that her husband is passed away? Like she had no idea how to react. And she even said she was like, I don't even know if I should ask about your shirt or whatever. And I was like, oh, it's a YouTube channel, it's a big thing or whatever. It just and like it's a thing in itself. It's a play on words. Like, don't it's fine. And then she wanted to start joking with me about it. She was like, "Oh, well, I have a friend who's widowed." And, she's like, "Well, let me ask you this. How long after your husband died, did you want to just drive yourself off a cliff?" And I was like, "Well, what?" Like, never. And she was like, "Yeah, my friend, she had kids to take care of, and she was left her husband left her, and she was doing all died and left her with the kids, and, she was going on and on." And I was like, I guess she thought since my shirt was a play on it, that was an open invitation for her to joke about it. But I was like, since when does my husband dying mean that I wanna die too? Some people go through that, but, don't assume, that just because my husband died that I wanted to drive my car off a cliff, literally. And so, like I said, people don't know how to react. So a lot of times they react with stupid. Like stuff comes out of their mouth because they think they're trying to make you feel better and they just say dumb things. I've been trying to make that video for a year and a half now about what not to say to a widow and the dumb things that people say to widows. And it seems like the list just keeps growing. One day I'm going to have to make it. And I really want to make it a funny one. Like I really want to make it a play on like a parody. But the last time I tried to make a parody, A bunch of people unsubscribed from the channel. They did not appreciate it. They were offended by it. And I guess it was just too painful for some of the fresh widows and widowers. I get that. Not everybody, appreciates the dark humor a little bit, but I really feel like if I'm going to do, a video about what not to say to a widow, I really feel like it needs to be a parody, like a Saturday Night Live skit kind of thing. But I want to be able to do it in a way that makes fun of it, but not makes fun of widows, but makes fun of the stupid people who say the stupid things to widows without making the people who are watching the video get offended and thinking that I'm making fun of them, because I'm not, because I've been through those comments and I know what it feels like. So until I get it right, I'm saving that one. I want to be able to do it perfectly. It's perfectionist in me. So Muslima says, my biggest worry was, who am I going to be my partner in paradise? Right. Yeah. And so, that I think depends on your religious beliefs. And even whatever your beliefs are, we don't really know. I believe a certain thing, but I don't know that my beliefs are true. I will not know if my beliefs are true until I die and wake up in heaven and then think, okay, good. Whoo, I was right. So, I feel like I think about those things sometimes and then I realize that doesn't do me any good to worry about it, while I'm alive, because whatever's going to happen is going to happen when I die. So, I do the best that I can. I live the way that my beliefs tell me, the way the Bible says, the way God says, the way Jesus says, and then I have to know that everything else is going to work out the way it's supposed to work out in this life and, on the other side. Um, Then it says, it seems like her wedding is helping you handle your job better. Does that make sense? I think the wedding is just giving me a positive thing to look forward to. Definitely. And I also feel like that I finally come to realize that the students can either stress me out or I can not allow them to stress me out, because they're going to act however they're going to act. And it's taken me a long time not to take the things personally. And so I finally just decided that, I'm going to dole out the consequences for the behaviors as best I can and let them get stressed about it. And then, so really trying not to take their behaviors personally, although it's still hard. I get called names daily. I get cussed at daily. I get yelled at daily. I've been threatened a few times. I've been knocked into a few times. I've taken up a pencil that someone was using with a pair of scissors and whittling into a shank after I had been threatened. So our school is it's tough. The kids are vaping everywhere. Their kids are having sex in the bathroom a lot. We had metal detectors installed over the fall break. And I guess, for safety precautions, and the students got so upset about the metal detectors that they vandalized the bathrooms and pulled toilets out of the walls. And now we have 3 bathrooms out of the 8 that can't be used because the toilets are literally pulled out of the walls. And so, and now they're mad because the other bathrooms are full all the time, and the toilet paper is not, keeps running out because we got the same amount of kids using 5 bathrooms instead of 8. Yeah, the prisoners are running the inmates are running the prison. Let's just put it that way. And I don't know what else to say about that. I'm counting down the days until I'm free, because I feel like I'm a prisoner there too sometimes. So all I can do is like the best I can do. That's it. Let me see. Okay, hold on. Goodness gracious, y'all. Report those dang messages. All right, I'm reporting them. All right, and I'm hiding the user. Hopefully those will go away. Good Lord. All right. Let's see. When I meet someone for the first time, I don't bring it up unless they're promising or they ask. Yes, I totally get that. And I don't either. I don't bring it up first. But then after you get to know somebody for a while, if you're developing a relationship, like a student relationship or a a coworker relationship and you've talked and you're getting to know each other and you learn more about each other, you're like, at some point that's going to come up, and then it's kind of like, when do I bring it up? That's when it gets a little awkward because you get to know somebody on a more personal level. And I'm like, at some point I got to bring up the widowed thing. I don't have to, but like, I don't want to act like I'm ashamed of it or try to hide it. It's not a secret. But, Snowy Owl says, I'm staying out of dating. Totally get that. And, a lot of people, that's what's best for them. And I totally get it. Muslima says, yes, it's an awkward topic, but it's eye-opening for people. Hopefully my microphone looks like it's shaking a little. I hope the sound is not getting weird. Widow acronym: with integrity develops ongoing wisdom. Ooh, I'm totally stealing that. Yep. Totally stealing that. Thank you. I like that. People say stupid things to widows. I agree. Yes, totally. Erica Smith says that's tough. Snowy Owl says long-term caregiving cured me. So I think, yeah, staying busy a lot. And I did a video about this a few weeks ago that, I'm so busy all the time on my job. I haven't even had time to grieve. And then I feel guilty because I haven't had time to grieve because I'm too busy, like just doing my job. I say that humor helps me get through. Totally. Yeah, Jonice, humor totally helps me get through. But I am one of those people that I even make jokes about things that other people would be like, oh, wow. Like I probably make light of things that other people would think is a little tasteless, only because I feel like, well, you can laugh about it, you can cry about it. And so since I try to make light of things so much, I probably end up joking about some things or laughing about some things that probably shouldn't be laughed about. So I have to be careful about that. Good Lord. Yeah. I'm still trying to report some of these. I don't know if they're going away or not, but trying to hide all these girls' night out. This okay. Let's see. Sometimes humor is what I can do to keep from crying. Yeah, because we have to all pick, we can either laugh about it or we can cry about it. And, and sometimes we can't help it. Sometimes we need to cry about it. But we don't, if we cry about it all the time, then it starts to, get us into a bad place and a dark place. So Suzanne says, my seniors and juniors know that my husband died 2 years ago, but my freshmen and sophomores don't. I talk about it if it comes up naturally. For me, school is my happy place. I am alone at home. So my classroom at school is my happy place. My students sometimes ruin that for me. So I have some really sweet kids. I just have some that whose behaviors and personalities are so strong that they overtake, like 90% of my time is spent dealing with their behaviors. And so unfortunately, the kids who want to be there and are trying to learn and really need a lot of support, they get overlooked a lot because we have some that just are probably not in the right educational environment. They probably need to be somewhere else. And so they were just they were dumped, basically dumped, and like just give them to Miss Donnell. She teaches resource. She teaches the kids with the low ability levels, academic levels, or whatever. And so, yeah, just let her deal with them. And so I just get them all, like I am the place where they dump all the kids that they don't know what else to do, where else to put them. They're too high to be in the self-contained, but they're too low to be in the regular classroom. And so they're in that gray area, but there's so much space in that gray area that I have a lot of different behaviors and academic levels and ability levels. And even though there's only 8 to 10 kids per class, it's hard. I have some kids that can do 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade math, and some kids that can't read. I don't know how to teach them the same lesson every day. So let's say Tim says most people aren't cruel. They are just trying to say something. Exactly. Yeah. They're not trying to be cruel. They just don't know what to say. And so they feel like they have to say something. And since they don't know what to say, they end up saying something that sounds offensive, or dumb or whatever. And they don't get it because they haven't been through it. Thank God they haven't been through it. But, and it's, I just want to just tell them that it's okay just to say, that must be really tough. I'm really sorry. And then just be done with it, and then just move on with the conversation. But most of the time they don't know, and so they wanna say something to make you feel better, which they can't, because unless they can bring your spouse back, they're not gonna make you feel better. And so then they end up saying something more that just ends up being inappropriate. So, Muslima says, "I really like your classroom. It's pretty." This is my, basement office. I have my classroom is also bright and colorful, so I'm still trying to do a tour of my classroom. So, I have to try to do that at some point. Um, do you work at a public school or private? I work at a public school. I work at public school in Georgia. I worked at a school before that was, completely different. It was not far from here, but it was, like, we just didn't have the same kind of our focus was more academics, like trying to get our kids, into college and successfully academically and things like that. And then, the place where I teach now, the county where I teach now is Title One. So it's a lot of lower income, families and students, and our focus is to keep our students out of jail and to teach our students to not break the law. Um, it's just a different focus. But I really just need to teach my students how to be nice people, how to treat others with respect. And that a lot of them don't know how to do. So I'm really trying to do that every day. Um, Trent found his way. Hey, Grandma, how is Paw Paw doing? Trent is JP's grandson, and so I think he found us at the video last week too. He is, I believe, Trent is 12 years old. I'm pretty sure he's 12 years old. And we were hoping he was going to come and visit us this weekend, but they had another event that they wanted to do. And so I think they're going to be visiting with us maybe next weekend, Trent. So Papa is doing great and he misses you and he wants to see you. So when you guys are ready to come over to the house, let us know because we're gonna have them over, him and his three brothers. So Naomi says, I was at lunchtime gathering recently and someone came up to my table and in front of everyone out loud said to me, "You're all over the place. It's like you're happy the man died." Oh my gosh. That's terrible. Naomi. So yeah, I've had a few like similarly offensive, but wow. That like I just don't to me, a comment like that they have to know that's gonna be offensive. When somebody says something like, "Well, he's in a better place," "Well, God needed him more than you," those kind of things, like, they don't help, and they're kind of offensive, but, like, they're trying to say something nice, they just don't know what to say, so they say those old standby dumb things. But somebody who says something like that to Naomi, you have to know that they're not trying to make you feel better. That, like, that's a selfish, unhappy person right there that wants you to be unhappy too. Or they're jealous that they know you went through a really tough time and they see you moving forward and they see you feeling better and they're jealous that you're able to do that. And so they're trying to bring you back down. That's my opinion. And that's somebody you don't need to have anything to do with. And I hope everyone at the table, like their jaw hit the ground and they were like, really? And hopefully somebody spoke out in your defense. I don't know. But yes. First day back to work tomorrow, 3 weeks out. Not looking forward to the reactions. That was hard. Boom Boom says, I don't know what that name is, but yeah, that was hard. I remember going back to work and feeling like I don't know how to do this one. Like they didn't know how to react to me. I didn't know how to react to them. It was awkward. It was weird. And the sad thing is, I've told this story before, but one of my coworkers, when Dewey died, it was over the middle of the summer break. It was June 17th, and we went back to school like at the very end of July. So it had been about 5 or 6 weeks. And I went back to work and was talking to one of my friends at work, one of my teacher friends, and I said, "Yeah, I'm sure you probably heard that Dewey passed away over the summer." And I told her that, on the first day back. And she's like, "Yeah, you remember you asked me to ask my husband if he would be a pallbearer at Dewey's funeral?" I'm like, "Oh, yeah." Like, I had totally forgotten that her husband was a pallbearer at the funeral, and I'm informing her on the first day of school, "Oh, d if in case you didn't know, my husband died over the summer." Like, I totally forgot that she was there, and I had asked her to ask her husband to be a pallbearer. embarrassing. But that just goes to show you how, you forget stuff. Like I was in so much trauma at that time. I don't hardly remember anything. And that was embarrassing. Like she had to tell me that. And I was like, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry. I'm sure she, whatever. It happens. Oh, Trent, 14. Oh my gosh. I'm 2 years off. 14. Oh, he's going to be getting his learner's license soon. So, Peg says must be like the Wild West in the school. It pretty much is. It's pretty much the Wild West. It is, definitely. I hate to say it, but it is. Public schools must be very challenging. It depends on the public school. I'm in one that's very challenging for sure. I've been in them before. It's been a long, long time. And it's hard to really say like the whole reasoning for it, but it's definitely kind of from the top down. So that's all I'm going to say about that. But Naomi says they're jealous. So yeah, that's what I figured, is that they're jealous. They see you trying to move forward and heal, and they just want to pull you back down into your grief because of their unhappiness for some reason somewhere. And Muslima says that's pathetic, and I agree. Twisted projection. Yep, I figure that's what it is. Joni says, I'm spitting my beer on the screen. Naomi, that is horrible. I agree. Sounds like a narcissistic person. Probably that too. Or misery loves company. Like, well, if I'm not going to be happy, then you're not allowed to be happy either. So they're going to. But you know what? That says so much more about them than it does about you. Nobody's looking at you and your behavior. They're looking at them and those words that they're saying. It reflects totally on them. And everyone there that they said that to is looking at them going, I can't believe they said that. So let it speak on their character, not on yours. Erica says, I remember going back to work. I was so scared or nervous as I didn't know how it was going to be. And you know what? The people that are about to see you come back, they're nervous too, because they don't know how to treat you. They really don't. And I feel sorry for them too, because they want to support you and, show that they care, but they don't know what to say or how to act. And a lot of times that reaction means they ignore you. They run from you. They're like, how are you doing? And then they run. And so it's a awkward situation for everybody, because grief is not normalized in our society, and it needs to be, but it's not. And we need to just we need to do our part to try to normalize it. So Peg says widow's fog is real. Widow's fog is a thing. It definitely is. And Erica says, I get a lot of, yeah, Erica, you called me. Yeah. Or, you'll get a lot of, no, don't forget, if you need anything, you just call me and let me know. Okay. Like, really, I'm going to reach out and say, hey, some people can, I guess, but I don't really do that very well. Most of us don't. Okay. We grieve in silence. We suffer in isolation. We share our frustrations and struggles with others who we know have gone through it, because we in this arena here can talk about our grief and the situations, because we've all are going through similar, like we're in the same club, although we don't want to be here, but we are. It's just like if you go to a therapist, it's really hard to talk to a therapist, in my opinion, who hasn't lost a spouse. They have no idea. They cannot empathize. They can sympathize. They cannot empathize. They've never walked a mile in your shoes. And so they don't know. And then when they do tell you something, you're like, well, what do you know? Like, you don't know what I'm going through. How do you know that's going to help? Have you ever experienced this before? And, you want to get snarky with them. But, and Joni says, I grieve in silence. And yeah, I think that's why it's so important for us to have our group. If it's not our group, then some other group or or grief share or something, to where you can talk to other people who've been through similar loss, to see, sometimes it's just nice to know that the way you're acting or the way you're feeling is normal, that you're not weird, that you shouldn't feel guilty for having some of the thoughts that you have or doing the things that you do. It's just nice to know, okay, so I'm not the only one who's doing this or feeling this or saying this, or have had some of these things said to me, etc. So P.S. Fran says, widowed over 3 years ago, was in my 40s. I don't like being judged for dating again. Was I supposed to join a nunnery in my 40s? I had that as well. Dewey was 42 and I was 40, I don't remember, 43 or 4, something like that. And Yeah. Some people, if you don't start dating, they're like, "You have got to get out. Like, you cannot grieve forever." And then you start getting out and they're like, "Oh my god, you're dating already? Like, wow, that was quick." Like, I remember my 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 real estate agent, so sweet, really nice lady, but totally clueless, right? And so she helped me, buy my house when I built it after Dewey died. So she met me right after Dewey died. And then after we lived there for a while, and then we decided to sell that house, we're going to sell that house and buy another one. And I called her and I was like, "Yeah, we're looking to buy." And so we met her at a house showing, and I was like, "Yeah, and this is my husband." And she was like, "Whoa, you didn't waste any time, did you?" And I was like, "Wow." And I know she wasn't trying to be a bitch, but she's just like, she was just clueless. She did not realize what she said was offensive. But yeah, so no, you're not supposed to join a nunnery in your 40s. You are not supposed to spend the rest of your life alone. And there is nothing wrong with going and finding someone to spend your time with, and whatever time that might be. If it's just dating, if it's spending a lot of time together, or if it's remarrying, whatever you decide, because you're the one that has to live your life. And so if finding somebody to spend your time with helps you feel better, what is wrong with that? Our spouses aren't coming back. So, what do people care if we stay by ourselves or if we find somebody else? Why do they even care? It shouldn't matter. Whichever way we decide, it should not matter. To me, that's just people judging and projecting or whatever, and it's not their life to live. So, Janet, there are times I don't get it yet. Laurie says it has been 1 year and I still have brain fog. I also still have anxiety and no one understands. Yes, totally get it. And it's just one of those things we got to take one day at a time. And sometimes people will never get it because thank God, they haven't been through what we've been through. Um, P.S. Fran says, Erica says, P.S. Fran, I know, right? Jonice says, our group is key. Muslima says, how would you find a therapist that is a widow? I don't know, to be honest. I think it's just you have to try and find. You might not find one that's a widow, but that's been my problem with therapy, is that the people that I've been in therapy with have not been widowed, and it's hard for me to get help from them because I know they haven't been widowed, and I'm like, you don't know what I'm going through. So don't feel guilty about being happy sometimes. Erica says, yeah, you can't win. And Tim says being yeah, I figured being happy sometimes. Yeah, we're supposed to be happy. Like, we're not supposed to live the rest of our lives sad every minute. But when we do start feeling happy, then we start feeling guilty. It's that process. It's a hard process to go through, because as soon as we start, the first time you ever laugh, I bet you remember the first time you ever laugh at a joke, or like crack a smile or laugh about something, you will instantly feel guilty because you're like, oh my gosh, I laughed at that. And I'm supposed to be grieving. Like, my husband's dead and I'm over here laughing, even if it's been 6 months or whatever. It's that process of like moving forward to finding that happiness and then hanging on to that grief. It's a real hard process, to like a transition to go through. Not supposed to join a nunnery in your 60s either, if so desired. Exactly. Right. We don't have to join a nunnery ever if we don't want to. If we want to go out and live our life and do whatever, we don't have to answer to anybody but ourselves, right? Suzanne says, thanks, Peggy. I just turned 60. I am not in a nunnery, but I teach at a Catholic school. I'm sorry. That probably was not as funny as it needed to be, but the irony, right? So exactly. But yeah, I don't know why people even think to care so much about whether we move forward with love or not. Like, it doesn't matter to them. It shouldn't matter to them, unless they're our kids. Our kids have like some, they have some, they don't have a right to judge, but it does affect them, like, personally. You know what I mean? But if they're not our kids, they should not care what we do. People are uncomfortable around us when we are sad, and then they judge us when we try to be happy. Right. That's the problem. Is that when we're sad, they don't want to be around us. They're like, oh my gosh, all she wants to do is talk about how her husband and her situation. And then when we start acting happy, they're like, wow, well, she got over him quick. What? We can't win. We cannot win. Okay. And so once we finally decide to stop trying to live our lives for other people's satisfaction, We are finally free to do what we need to do to get out of that grief rut and to move forward and to try to figure out how to live in grief, because the grief never goes away. We just get used to it and we learn how to handle it. We don't get over it. We don't even get through it. We just live with it. We learn how to live with it. We learn how to live with it better than we did the day before. That's really all we're doing. And if someone else comes along in our life to help us live with it, more power to you. And if you don't want anybody else in your life to help you live with it because you found other ways to live with it, more power to you too. It's not our place to judge other people in the way that they get through their grief. We just need to support each other and say, I am so glad that you found X, Y, or Z, whether it be person, place, or thing, to help you get through, live with, move forward, whatever the terms you might use in this journey. We just want to support each other through the moments, because we're going to have some rough moments no matter what. When we have those rough moments, we need to gather around each other, lift each other up, and help each other through it. So what I need is some ideas on, like, we do probably need a shirt, like a snarky shirt that we might not wear. Might not be appropriate to wear everywhere, but maybe like an in your face kind of a saying. And I don't know what it is, but y'all give me some ideas and then like email it to me or put it in the comments below in the comments and say, you should have a shirt that says whatever. So, all right. Oh yes, the first laugh. It was awesome, funny experience. I thought I had split his ashes. Wow. Laurie says people are uncomfortable around us. Oh, I just said that one. Suzanne, that is hilarious. And Suzanne says, yes, laughing does help. And Laurie and Naomi says that, Laurie, you are 100% right. And by the way, I don't know if Laurie wants me to say this or not, but she is our first official graduate of the Grief Pivot course. By the way, she got her certificate. She got her affiliates link. She finished the course. I'm so proud of her. So, and you know what? You're never like done. And once you have the course, you can always go back and re-watch whatever topics that you want to. But she's our first official graduate of the course. So I'm very proud of her for that. And she even knew, she started and said that she was not quite ready. And so she took a break and waited until she was a little farther into the grief process, until it was more appropriate for her, because it's not for people in fresh grief. And then she went back when she was more ready to handle it and do the steps and stuff like that. So I'm just so proud of her. And then Peg says a t-shirt would be awesome. I can make t-shirts. So I have to get the right sayings. And so y'all have ideas for t-shirts for our widow community, put them in the comments or email them to me. It's too bad people don't spend more time dealing with their own lives instead. Lucy, I concur 100%. Tressie says, no one at my school knows, but it's somewhat a place of solace because I live day in, day out, 24/7 in my head with my grief. I just need some place where I'm me and not the widow. Yes, Tressie, I totally get that. And because of that, I had to leave my first job. I didn't have to, but I couldn't handle being the person who's like, oh, that's that woman whose husband died last year. I could not. Maybe they weren't thinking that way, but I felt like they were. And so I changed jobs to get a fresh start, and it helped. So I totally get that. Sometimes you don't want people to know because you want to just treat you like a regular person. Peg says, congrats. Naomi says, I'll get the One Happy Widow tee for the next gathering. Yes. Erica says, yay, Laurie, congrats. Yes. The other Laurie, because I'm Laurie, actually. I go by Leo, but yeah, my given name is Laurie. So she's my name sister also. The shirt says, widowed, I can now do anything I want. And I don't need, and I don't, I can't read it. Widow acronym. The widow acronym is a good one. Tim, yeah, I don't know. I can't. Usually I can fix those typos because I have students that I have to read between the lines, but I can't quite get that one. I like the widow acronym in the chat. Same. I just don't want to. I gotcha. Snowy says, Peg, I like that. I need the widower version though. Widower, yes. And I actually made a shirt for my husband too that said One Happy Widower. So, but you got to think about where you wear it. So we need some that are appropriate for wherever, and then we need some that are if you want to be snarky and in people's face, and we can wear that one. So we need to have a couple of different options. So, all right, we're coming up on over like we're coming up on an hour and a half. That's a long one. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up because as much as I enjoy these chats, I really do. The people who are watching on YouTube on the replay are probably like, oh, I can't take it anymore. So we're gonna go ahead and cut this one off. So if I don't get back to you for next week, it will definitely be the week after. My goal is every week, but my realistic is I don't want to go more than 2 weeks. So if you don't see me next weekend, then you'll see me the weekend after. Next weekend is the Georgia Florida game. So I might be all up and in that one. The weekend after that is the Georgia Tennessee game. So although I do it on Sundays, but still I might be sad about that one if they beat us. So anyway, okay, guys, I'm gonna wrap it up. Yeah, send me your ideas for your t-shirt stuff. I'll definitely the acronym, yeah, I like that one for sure. So I'm gonna see if I can like figure out how to to arrange it and put it in a little design and see if we can break out the t-shirt maker and see if we can do something with that. All right, guys. Thank you. Army, Navy. All right. Thank you guys for coming in. And I appreciate all of you. Hang in there. Take one day at a time. Join the group if you're not already in the group. The link is in the description below. Go to the Grief Pivot course if you need that and look into that about signing up. It's always available. And I will see. Yes. Peg, I will definitely give you credit. We're gonna we'll have to talk about details on that one. All right. We'll see you guys later. Thank you so much.